Namaskara, welcome back to the channel. Today we will discuss about TPS sensor, that is throttle position sensor. Now let's get into the video. As you can see in this diagram, this is throttle body, this is throttle position sensor. TPS sensor is very crucial part of an engine. It helps in monitoring the position of throttle valve, that is throttle valve regulates the amount of intake air, that is amount of air that is available for combustion. Also TPS monitors rate at which this valve opens or closes, that is how fast or how slow it closes or opens. And TPS sends this information to ECU, which in turn are used to optimize fuel injector timings and spark ignition, which in turn help to get accurate AFR ratios for combustion. And this valve can be in different positions, such as first one is closed, that is minimum amount of air or no air is entering, and the second position is idle. During the idle we need some amount of air, it is open by a little amount. And the third one is fully open, that is wide open throttle, that is maximum amount of air is allowed into engine. If you look at this diagram, I have made a basic block diagram for TPS sensor. Atmosphere air that is entering through air filter. Then we have TPS sensor that is located inside the throttle body assembly. The ECU will give throttle command to throttle body, and the TPS will give you the position of the valve back to ECU. And this ECU is also getting an input from ACC pedal, that is your throttle pedal. Basically when it comes to throttle body, there are two types. One is mechanically actuated and the another one is electronically actuated. In the mechanically actuated, there is a cable that is connected physically from accelerator pedal to throttle body. And in the electronic one, there is no physical connection, but it is a drive-by-wire system, wherein in the throttle body there will be a motor which is controlled by ECU, and in turn the ECU will receive information from the accelerator pedal position. Now let's focus on this diagram. Here initially I have taken ACC input, that is accelerator position input. This is going into a PID control. This is proportional, integral and differential controller. I'll explain you in a minute. This in turn will give commands to motor driver, which is responsible for moving the butterfly valves. And when there is a change in the position of the valve, this change will be picked up by position sensor, that is our throttle position sensor, which gives position information back to ECU. This is a closed loop system. Now let me explain PID loop, that is proportional integral differential loop. Here there are three main things. First one is set point, that is desired value, what we are trying to achieve. And then comes the action part, and then comes the feedback part. That is, here the set point is given by our accelerator pedal input. For example, let's say the driver is expecting 20% of throttle. That is, he is giving 20% of throttle to accelerator pedal. That will become our set point or desired point. That information is passed on to ECU. Then ECU will do the PID controller role, that is, which gives information to throttle body motors. And the final change in the throttle valve is measured by TPS sensor and it is given back to ECU as feedback. Now let's understand individual part, that is, first the proportional part is responsible for making the immediate changes to throttle position. This will be the major component of PID, and integral part will make minute changes, but this will make faster corrections. The derivative part is responsible for dampening the output, that is, it prevents the overshoot or constant oscillating of the throttle valve. These are the mathematical equations for P, I and D. This I will explain in the future videos. Now we got to know it helps in regulating the amount of air that is entering the engine, which in turn is needed as an input for fuel injectors to determine the quantity of the fuel, and for the spark plugs, that is spark timing. Now let's understand what happens if the sensor goes bad or faulty. What are the symptoms we can observe? First one is we can immediately observe hesitation during acceleration, that is, it will not be crisp. That is, we can observe lag in acceleration. Then we will have a loss of power, and when it comes to automatic transmission, we can even see difficulty or delayed gear shifts. Adding to the earlier part, we can even observe unusual surges during acceleration. That is because ECU is not getting proper feedback from the TPS sensor about throttle position, and this may even lead to erratic idling. Also, the engine will start consuming more amount of fuel. That is because when the ECU is not getting proper feedback, it tends to run the engine in rich condition. We know this part. Whenever ECU detects malfunction in a sensor, it will throw up MIL lamp, that is malfunction indication lamp, and usually the engine will go into limp mode, and in severe conditions we can even observe the engine refusing to start. Now let's understand how to test the TPS sensor. First and the easiest method is to scan car using a OBD tool. Then we will know exactly where the fault is. That is, either it is in wiring or sensor or ECU. Later, depending on the diagnosis, we can check wiring harness for continuity, that is, either there is a break in the signal line or voltage line or ground. And usually this TPS sensor gets power and ground directly from the ECU, and the feedback also goes back to ECU. So we need to check the wiring between sensor and the ECU. Then we can either use oscilloscope or multimeter or real-time data from the OBD2 scanner to observe the variation in the voltage. That is, measure the voltage in the idle position, off position and wide open throttle. Usually at idle it will be at 0.7 volts and at wide open throttle it will be at 5 volts. And one important thing is throttle body needs periodic cleaning. That is because dust, grime, soot tends to stick onto throttle body wall. It will kind of create a layer inside a throttle body. This will lead to issues in idling and car's performance. For throttle body, we need to use throttle body cleaners which are easily available in the market. I hope you understood my explanation on TPS sensor. If you have doubts, please let me know in the comments. If you learned something, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll meet you in the next video. Bye bye.